In my design work, my most difficult client is me. And that's because when you live in your space every day and you have so many different things that you like, it can be difficult to look at your space objectively and find out how to pull together all of those different things in a cohesive way. So when you start just sourcing furniture and artwork without knowing what story you're trying to tell or having a through line, you don't always end up with the most cohesive or refined look at the end as what you could have had if you had a stronger starting point. Having conducted some new client consultations recently, I figured I could share what that process looks like and how to apply it and kind of conduct a consultation on yourself to give you a good starting off point, and you can give yourself a guide to make the process easier and end with something that you're happy with. If you're new to the channel, my name is Corey and I make content regarding interior design, home, DIY, lifestyle, all of the home related things. So if that's something you're interested in and you're not subscribed, I hope you'll consider doing so. And I've shared videos here on the channel in the past about my design process, but they've all been a little bit more wide lens, overview, not super specific in the process and how to apply it. So that's what I'm trying to start with this video, to give you more of an insight on how to do it for yourself. So when it comes to client consultations, the first thing I have them do is, if they have a Pinterest board, I have them share it with me so I kind of have a little bit of context for our conversation. However, when you're doing it for yourself, I actually recommend not making a Pinterest board until a little bit later so you can get to the bottom of what you like without external influence. So I would recommend skipping to part 2, which is where I actually get to the client's house. And before I ask any questions or anything like that, I just have them show me their space and talk through what they're envisioning for it in their own words. I might ask some clarifying questions about what they're saying, but my actual questionnaire sheet that I have, I'm not going through ticking off the answers. I just let them speak and then we get to the questionnaire later. So how to do this for yourself and just have a conversation about your own space is to journal. Find a corner of the room, or if you can be in an adjacent room, and look at your space that you're working on as a whole, and just sit and observe it and journal with yourself all of the things that you want for this space. Now, don't get in your head too much about the limitations or budget constraints or anything like that. There are no buts or limits here. Just stream of consciousness, write out, try to do at least 5 pages so that by page 3, 4, 5, you're actually getting into that subconscious mind. Do more if you want, but definitely at least 5 pages just to get anything about the space onto a piece of paper and out of your brain. And then after I've done that with the client, we go through this questionnaire that I have, and I ask for specific information for me on the aesthetic, functional, and experiential levels of the project, some of which may have already been answered in your stream of consciousness or in the conversation I would have with a client, but I still like to reiterate them and really hit those points on the head. The first of which being, what do you like about your space? This could be the layout, this could be the color of the walls, the way it serves the activities that you do in the space. Maybe you like to read in the space and it's really conducive to that because it's quiet, or people aren't walking through. Whatever experientially, visually, functionally about the space you currently like, make a note of it. And then I look at, how do you want the space to feel? Not look, not function. How do you want to feel, or how do you want a guest to feel when they come into your space? And get really specific on this, not just I want the space to feel relaxed, or I want to feel relaxed when I get in the space. Be specific about what relaxed means to you. Are you a person who feels relaxed when you're in a cabin in the woods, cozied up by a fire, in a blanket, reading a book? Again, we're not looking at making your space a cabin, but just note if that's what feels relaxing to you, or if you feel relaxed at the spa or on the beach. Again, we're not doing coastal, but is that the feeling you get there what makes you feel relaxed? I have an office space that I'm working on right now, 2 office spaces actually, a husband and a wife. The husband said he wants his office space to feel productive and prepared. He wants to, as soon as he walks in, feel like he can hit the ground running and work. And the wife wants her space to feel like she is the boss. I don't know if she is the boss. I don't know exactly the intricacies of her job, but regardless, she wants to show up and take ownership of her work and feel really proud of what she does and like she's in control. So just knowing how you want your space to feel, or how you want to feel in your space, I guess is a better way to put it. And then we can get into the aesthetics. And just looking kind of generally here, like what colors do you like? What style do you like? If you know what design styles you're drawn to, you don't have to write one down, you can write multiple. And one thing I really like to ask my clients is if they have a particular designer that they like. Some people don't know the answer to this, and they may say, instead of saying like the designer's name, they'll say like, oh, I really like XYZ TV show on HGTV. And that's totally fine. That just gives me more background about the style that they like if they're not able to describe their style. And then also if it's like a family home or a couple, I'll ask if both partners are agreed on that, if it's a shared space or if it's a multi-generational home, if everyone who shares the space, if that reflects all of them. So do that for yourself to ask whoever is in your house what they want out of this space, so you know later how to kind of make it represent everyone. And then I ask if there's anything currently, like furniture, artwork, architectural details, anything like that, anything in the space that has to stay or that you want to keep. Some things, it is a budget issue. We can't afford to replace our floors, so the floors have to stay. Or sometimes it's just a preference. I have this family heirloom grandfather clock and it has to stay. And then I'll ask, based on whatever it is that someone says, you can ask this for yourself, are you open to altering that item? So if it is a grandfather clock, are you open to replacing the metal pieces from brass to silver? Are you open to restaining it or painting it? Or if it's a sofa, are you open to reupholstering it? If you have to keep the piece, does it have to stay exactly as it is? If the answer is yes, that's totally okay. It's just, you need to know that. And looking at if you're okay altering it and it's still holding the same sentimental value for you. And then I get into the functional questions. 1, does the current lighting and power distribution work? 2, how often do you entertain in this space? How many people does it hold when you entertain, and does it serve the needs for entertaining? Do you see any functional changes for this space in the future? This one's really big because if you are going to spend $10,000 on a full room renovation, is a parent gonna have to move into that room? Or do you think you're gonna have a new baby? Or do you maybe have a kid getting ready to graduate and their room would make a better space for this and you'd have to do less renovations, or whatever the case may be? If there's functional changes within the next year or so, that could potentially make your investment now null and void and you have to redo it or something. Maybe let's look at some different solutions for the time being and revisit a bigger change later on. This may not be the case. You might not have anything gonna change and then definitely make the investment, but it's just something to keep in mind. And then the last functional one is if the amount of storage is sufficient. Now, this one, everybody always, every single client I've had has said they need more storage. So then I get really specific and talk about, do you need more or do you need more creative solutions for storage? Some people, their rooms are bursting at the seams and they really do not have the storage for their items. Sometimes we just need to swap a piece for deeper drawers or something. So just look at your storage needs as a whole, whether the space currently meets it, whether you need more, or if we can creatively change that. All of those questions are like more bullet pointed and are usually, I can work through those pretty fast. Then I get into sometimes some longer explanation questions. So I leave myself on my page some room to answer that. These are just some bigger, more nuanced ones. The first being, what level of change are you making? Is it decorative? Is it a renovation? If it is a renovation, what level renovation? Like a full gut, or like, are we just touching some electrical stuff? Just so you can determine what trades you might need to engage for it, or if you don't want to deal with that at all and you just want to do furniture and decor and accessories and maybe paint your walls. Just determine what level of project it is. And then we did touch on the functional needs, but I like to ask specifically and get really clear on who all uses the space and how do they use the space. If you're a family, say you're a married couple that has 2 kids, does one parent watch TV while another parent reads and the kids do homework? Does one of them have, like my niece, for example, in their living room, she likes to practice her gymnastics in the living room, so we needed to make sure to leave space. So just on an individual level, everyone who uses the space, do you need to have a pet bed in a certain area? Something like that. How does everyone who uses that particular space need their needs met in it? And then based on that, does the space serve those current needs? If, my niece is doing gymnastics and that's where she likes to practice, but there's a chair in the way and she's constantly hurting her ankle, maybe we need to relay out the furniture. So just looking at what are the needs of the space and then answering, does the space serve it? If not, what are some ideas on how to make it serve those needs? And this is where you'd look at too, the storage would kind of fall under this category. And also this could be an aesthetic and functional thing. Like, is the space too dark? One, aesthetically, you want the space to light up all your pretty things, but also if you like to read in it, you might not have the light to do so. So this would be a little aesthetic functional blend here. And then I like to ask, what is the client's wish list? So for yourself, ask, what do I have to have in this space? And what are my nice to haves in this space? A lot of times for like bedrooms or living rooms, on the nice to have list is like a fireplace. If a client doesn't have one, they might want to incorporate an electric fireplace into their room. So things like that. It would be lovely if I could have an electric fireplace, but if I don't, we've been surviving without it. It's totally fine, but we must have a new bed frame because this one's broken, or we have a queen bed and we need a king bed because our 3 dogs sleep in bed with us. There's not enough room. So what are your must-haves that you need to address for yourself? And what would be a nice addition? And then the time frame for your project. When do you want it done? And this is so you can schedule and kind of give yourself tasks to accomplish. If you want it done by Christmas and it's September, in September, you need to finish the design. In October, you need to start ordering. If you're engaging trades, like that needs to happen way at the beginning so then they can come in November and be done by the middle of December so that by Christmas time when your family comes, the space is done. So just knowing when you want the space done by so you know how you can break down all the tasks for it. And then we conduct a little bit of a building analysis. So like structurally, what's going on in the space and can we make some of the proposed changes that we're potentially looking at? What are the physical limitations? One being answering for yourself if you need structural changes or if it's just decorative. If it's just decorative, a lot of these questions are not going to apply. But if it is structural or even, we're changing a light fixture, knowing that ahead of time so you know what trades you need to engage. Which kind of blends into the next question, which is what trades are required. Listing out, I need an electrician, I need a plumber, I need drywall, I need an architect if you're potentially doing a new build, things like that. Looking at all of the trades that you need to determine, do I need a general contractor or do I just need an electrician that I can hire myself? Just listing out who you think you might need. And then if potentially you live in a historic area and you need to engage your historic society before making changes to a historic home, you need to know that. If you have an HOA, you need to look at what are the steps to get if you can make that change or if you have to submit a request. Just any approvals or permits or licenses or anything that you need, looking at what those are. If you're doing a huge renovation and like one that I have been working on recently. We needed permits for that. So just knowing what you need ahead of time before you jump into it. And then we do a deep dive into the decorative preferences. I know at the very beginning of the questionnaire, we looked at, a general like style preferences, colors, things like that, but really look at, what metal finishes do I like? What textures do I like or not like? Are you allergic to wool, or is your kid allergic to wool? Or you really like specific wood tones, but not others? Don't just write down wood tones, write down dark wood tones or the species of wood if you know what you're drawn to. Anything like that that's very specific in your decorative preferences, make a note of it. And you can look at your style too. I like the coastal style. The thing I like about the coastal style is the light, bright, airy feel. Or I like, when I see a coastal space and it has like the woven rope details, but I don't necessarily like the color palette of a coastal style. Like really, really dive into your visual aesthetic preferences, all of them. Again, no really limitations here, because once we have all of this information, you can look at how to piece all of those different things together and let go of what doesn't work in the design, even if you like it. And then the very last question, everyone's least favorite, but one of the most important: what is the budget for the project? So you can make informed decisions. I know finances are crazy for everyone, so just determining what that looks like for you. And then once you've gathered all of this information, you can start to put together that starting point to guide yourself through your project. I would start by creating a to-do list for yourself. Essentially, this is where I look at what services I'm providing to the client. But for you, it's just a to-do list on it. Do I need to create a space plan? Do I need to find and hire out trades and services? If this is just decorative, what pieces am I sourcing? Make a list of all of that. Putting together what all of the steps are to make the project come to life, instead of just jumping right in willy-nilly and then being confused as you go along. And then I go in and create a concept before I fully design the project and start picking those furniture items. This is where you dive into Pinterest and put together your mood board and put together that visual starting point. I create a whole presentation on this, but essentially you just want to look at your questionnaire that you filled out, all the answers to that, plus the way you describe your project in your free writing session, and look at in your free writing versus in your questionnaire the overlaps. Where can you make some of the things in your free writing, some of those ideas? How do they fit within the limitations and the needs of the project that you determined? Looking at your must-haves and nice-to-haves with your budget, just bringing it into reality and looking at what is possible, and then going to Pinterest with, if you have a specific solution that you need, you can look up how to make a brick fireplace work in XYZ style home, if that's something you are facing. Or if you really like mid-century modern, but the style of your house is Georgian colonial, looking up, modern Georgian colonial homes, or anything like that. You have more specialized, searchable things, even down to your color palette. Say you like green and you want your home to feel cozy, relaxed, like in a cabin or whatever. You take your mood, feeling, how you want to feel in your space, and create a sentence out of it, I want to feel like I woke up in an Airbnb cottage on vacation in Coronado Beach. And you can type that into the search bar if you want. Or looking at your color palette, you could look at, Coronado cottage green color palette, or color palette with green, and just see what comes up. You don't have to like any of it, but you just have more searchable terms to expand your idea of what you were looking at before, instead of just living room inspiration or modern living room inspiration. You can get down to the bottom of what you actually like, instead of seeing what's out there and picking things out of the thin air of the internet that maybe kind of resonate, but it's you just didn't know how to get specific. You have all of the information about your project, about the needs of the space, because that is more important than the way that it looks, is that it serves you and feels right to you. But also, as far as the look goes, you have so many more examples that are more tailored to your space and to what you're looking for, that can spark new ideas in you. And you can look at your space a little bit more objectively because you're seeing an issue you have in another space. Oh, I would have never thought to do that. And then you can look at your space and see how you could apply a similar idea or how it could spark a different idea that you would have never thought of because you're in your space every day. And how to combine all of the different things that you like you like the architecture in your home, but you like mid-century modern lighting. So how to put mid-century lighting in a farmhouse on a ranch might not have been something you would have ever considered because you didn't think it looked good. You thought you had to do it all in the architecture of your home. But if you see that you like it and here's what's existing, and you can be very specific on the room or whatever, you can just be more specific searching and give yourself a better starting point because you gathered the information. That was a little rambly. Really sorry about that, but this should help you with that starting point and help you develop a guide for yourself for your project. If it was helpful, let me know by giving this a thumbs up and let me know how you might apply this to a project of your own. I would love to hear what you're working on. And if you're not subscribed, please consider doing so. It really helps me out. I have some really exciting things coming up. I'm managing a client renovation project for the first time, and I've got tons to share about it. I've learned a lot. I want to share the renovation process as a whole, all of it, tons of exciting things regarding that. So if you're not subscribed, please do. And until next time, I am wishing you all my best.